Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Rita's Book Club. This week I'm reviewing the second book of the last binding series, A Restless Truth by Freya Marske. Last year I read the first book called A Marvelous Light, and I became obsessed with this queer historical fantasy and its characters. I was super curious to read Maud's own story after the little glimpses we saw in the first one, so this was very exciting to me. This book is focused on Robin's sister's Maud life. If you ask her, the most interesting things that happened in her life actually happened to her brother Robin, but she's ready to join any cause, especially if it involves magical secrets that may threaten the whole of British Islands. Bound for New York on the Lyric, she's ready for an adventure. But what she actually finds is a dead body, a disrespectful parrot, and a beautiful stranger in Violet Denham. Violet is a magician, actress, and scandal. Everything Maud has been trained to fear and has learned to desire. Surrounded by the open sea and a ship full of loathsome and aristocratic suspects, they must solve a murder and untangle a conspiracy that began generations before them with the discovery of the contract and an old female society. I gotta give a huge shout out to the author, Freya, because it's super hard to change the main character in the middle of a series and expect the story to flow easily, but what a brilliant work. It was definitely like we were picking up right where we left off after the last book, and it was a joy to get Maud's and Violet's perspectives and their own venture with the main plot. It made sense to me that Maud was the main character and continued the search of the second part of the contract. She was this sweet, lovable, determined, and curious young lady, and she basically had everyone wrapped around her little finger, especially Violet and Lord Hawthorne, for very different reasons. But they were also a bit like the voice of reason in a lot of different, for very different reasons, and in a lot of specific moments. Maud was brave, of course, but a bit naive in certain moments, and these two were able to give her a shock of reality when needed, but also be protective and supportive of her. Of course, one has also to mention Violet and her own story. It's a great setup for the future of her importance that she's introduced in relation to Maud, and we learned more about her personality and past. She was so interesting, and I just wanted to know everything about her journey to become the independent woman that she became, because she knew she didn't want to be confined to the magical rule society expected of women. So she knew she wanted more, so she took it, and it's incredible to know her. There are also some very interesting and hot scenes between her and Maud. I really love those because in Maud's case, it was a discovery of her own sexuality and likes and dislikes. And I really loved how Violet explained things to Maud and made her feel loved, even if we don't call it that already. Honestly, I just love this chaotic group Maud gathered to help her out to solve the mystery of Mrs. Nevin by death and the recovering of the second part of the contract. I love the power dynamic and bickering between Lord Hawthorne and Ellen Ross, for example. It was fabulous and a great teaser for what's to come in the next book. But even when the ghost of Mrs. Nevenby joined them, it was so well written and interesting. A nice contrast between the major scenes of their findings. Their reunions were very, very good. Also, I personally love that we got to see little glimpses of how Maud accepted so effortlessly the relationship between her brother and Edwin. It was really lovely to see those moments that in the grand scheme of things have an impact to how Maud herself saw the practicality of her own romantic relationship with Violet. On my last review, I already mentioned that I was so obsessed with the way magic was portrayed and explained, but in this one was even more interesting, especially when you learn about the Forthia Club and the way these four ladies were so ahead of their time and worked so hard to try and develop their own magical powers. Um, the last book of the series is called Power Unbound, putting the story on Lord Hawthorne's perspective, which I'm definitely super excited about after the reading the major role and the impact he had on this one. As always, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram at Rita's Book Club for more content. Thanks for watching and see you next week. Happy readings!